Hey, it's Raven Tactical here. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to get a actual video with me on it. Most of the time, it's my drive to and from work. It's in darkness right now, just because of the early. I guess I wouldn't say early, but just how we don't have that many hours of sunlight. Um, this year has been interesting. I think I'm going to cover right now what's happening in Virginia right now. So I mean, at this point, if you don't know what's going on in Virginia, you've been kind of living in a cave. So, what I want to kind of bring up today is how I take it and see it. Um, I see Virginia as an example of a trial run, and you see it in a lot of other states that are basically sitting at the gate, waiting to see how Virginia goes. Several states this year, I think roughly 10, have enacted a red flag law. A lot of it's supported by Republican sides too, so I mean, you can't just blame one side. Um, and I think that's also part of the issue. Um, so we have that. But what's in Virginia right now is basically a full out Second Amendment violation of banning guns, banning training, banning the ability to go to an indoor or an outdoor gun range unless it's state sponsored, banning ammunition, transportation of ammunition. They're going to be having ammunition free zones, which honestly is the perfect way to ban guns. Want to know why? I mean, a friend of mine brought this up and it was a good point. You would have a hard time going door to door and doing the confiscation thing, right? However, I would say banning ammunition, because if you talk to a lot of people when the bump stock ban came through, most people didn't support it, or I should say most people supported it. And their thing was it was a plastic toy and it wasn't a part of a gun and it wasn't a firearm, so it's not protected. Well, either is ammunition. So ammunition is not written in the Second Amendment. It's just accepted, and it was considered, in my opinion, the founders didn't sit there and have to write everything out going, bump stocks, this and that. They just meant firearms. So if it was part of a firearm, it was considered. But the way it's written, yeah, technically, if you're going to ban bump stocks, you can ban ammunition the same way. It's not a firearm. And that's kind of the perfect way to do it. Do I think they're going to go door to door? No. What happens is they give a cutoff date. Let's say they say February 14th is your turn-in date for all the firearms that are on this list, and ammunition is banned here, so they have a turn-in date for that. Well, let's say only 20% turn-in. Well, cool. That's fine. 80% still have their weapons, right? The problem is you can't use them. So, I mean, on top of the fact that they're already smart enough to ban ranges, but you can't bring your gun to a range. You can't, unless you go to a private range, like someone's house or someone's farm field. But then you got to have in the back of your mind, is that farmer's neighbor going to hear a bunch of shots being fired off and then call the cops? And when they go to do a compliance check, they see you with the banned firearms that are banned, and then they take them. I mean, as much as you want to say that, these departments and cops and police departments are saying they won't confiscate your guns, I can see them confiscating your guns that way, because it's just you and it's just your buddy. They're not worrying about making headline news about going raiding door to door through a neighborhood. They're going to have red flag laws. So your neighbor sees that you have a collection of guns, or knew you had a collection of guns, and calls it in. I mean, I think this is how it's going to go. I don't think they're going to bring in the National Guard and kick in door to door. However, I think there's going to be examples made of people, and I think there's going to be things that go on. January 20th is an important day right now, because that's when they're going to have, I believe that's when everybody's elected in has their first day of office, and then they're going to be proposing all these bills that they're writing, and they're going to be proposing these bills. A large part of the patriots and libertarians, militia, and all this, they're heading out there right now, and they're going to be staying out there. There's bus schedules for people that need a bus ride. There's people who are carpooling out there, and there are all sorts of things. They're looking at trying to have a big rally where people maybe are showing their strength for the Second Amendment. So whether you have, firearms or you're loaded and you're carrying your gun or concealed or whatnot, to me it doesn't matter. I think if you want to carry a full battle rattle gear, so be it. At this point, what does it matter, right? I think the laws are still going to get passed. I mean, as much as we want to protest in this, I think the concept of protesting and rallying and getting all this is good. Do I think it'll accomplish anything? No. What it'll accomplish is that you're going to be networking with other patriots, other groups. So instead of having a pissing contest out there, why not try to make friends with the people there? Why not try to actually come up with a plan and actually be able to do some things with these guys? So, I mean, to me, that's the concept that you're going to get out of this. Actually put forth some effort into meeting people instead of being this OPSEC warrior. Why not make friends with some of the other local groups? Maybe you might find that you have common interests, or maybe from the same state or same county, and you can build a big social network of people who are like-minded with you, who maybe in the future will be, the people you call when something actually does happen. Two things that I think could happen, though. Matt Bracken's big event, what I would call it. When I look at it, it's the perfect hotbed for a big single stage event. So you take, let's say, you got all the militia groups there, you got all your patriot groups, most of them are armed, most of them are there. There's a lot of things saying that Antifa's already there waiting for people to start a pissing match and a fight, and they're not stupid. As much as you want to call them dumb liberals and all this, they're actually going to be wearing, pro-patriotic things too, to throw people off. And they will pick a fight. The problem is, what do you do at this point? The big event I'm talking about, though, however, is you're going to get some sort of black bag operation kind of thing, if you want to call it, where a group of people dressed as militia or dressed as this, who maybe have all their Facebook stuff and militia sites all publicly things, and all this white supremacist stuff and all this hate and all this, that they stage a complete riot or an attack. So they shoot up something, they blow up something, they put IEDs and kill first responders and cops, and they go around shooting everybody there. And, they stage it to look like it was the militia. Now, the problem you have with that is the fact that simply the militia itself really doesn't support it. It won't be supported by the militia in anything, but it's going to look like the militia did it. So what does that mean for you and I? Well, what it means for you and I is simply this, that you're going to be going in hiding if that happens, because people are going to be either up in arms or they're going to be panicking and running, because that just opens the door for even further legislation. All the other states will follow suit with the same kind of gun bans, the same kind of training bans, the same kind of thing like that. So you're going to wind up with really strict laws, and I think a lot of people will back down and kind of support it, because, or I shouldn't say support it, won't fight it. Because why? Because people are going to be scared at this point because of one big event that basically framed all of it. I mean, think of it like the Vegas shooting. I think the Vegas shooting was a perfect example of the right kind of false flag event with the wrong president. I'm not a big fan of Trump's gun stance on a lot of things, but had it been maybe a Hillary Clinton or someone else, you would see a further extreme event towards it, and you would have seen maybe an executive order on assault weapons ban, or executive order on all sorts of things like that. So I think it was already in the motions kind of thing, and it just so happened to be that, unexpectedly Trump won. So they still went through it, and they kind of got something, They didn't get exactly what they wanted, but they got a bump stock ban, and they rewrote how the trigger laws work. So that's the other thing that people tend to forget. When they banned the bump stock, they had to basically come up and redefine what a full auto meant. And a full auto was redefined as a semi-automatic bolt. And it could be. That's how automatic can. That's how they banned the bump stocks, is by redefining the definition of machine guns. So that is technically a little bit scary because, ATF can make a ruling for anything at this point. So, with that in mind, just keep aware and alert. Virginia is going to be a hotbed for a while, and I don't know if it's going to lead to a civil war concept, but civil war, to me, really should be something we should try to avoid. I don't think it's going to cause the death of 98% of the people in this world, but at the same time, it's going to be something that you're not going to want to see, just because it'll be a total war of the United States. There won't be the North and the South. It'll be rural versus city, and you're going to be seeing things like that. And as much as we want to say that the Midwest is this strong rural community, we rely on fuel, we rely on propane, we rely on heating oil and all this stuff, and it can get cut off just as easy as it can be. So remind yourself that a lot of the farming communities, while there are preppers in them, and there's a lot of people who do prepare, the art of canning and all that stuff has been generations lost. So we could easily just be how would you call it? We could just easily be sieged, as the big city will be sieged. Maybe we last a little bit longer, and maybe we're more resilient and more ability to find ways around things, but we still have the same problems. So that's my take on the Second Amendment thing going in Virginia. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. It's Raven Tactical out.